I'm having an identity crisis. My name is Beth, and for years I have been saying by default that my favourite genre is fantasy. But I think that may be a lie. Hello and welcome to this video. Am I in another location of my flat because I cannot decide where to film? Yes and no. Yes in that, yes I am. No in that this probably won't be a permanent filming residence, it's a pretty boring background area, but I need back support because I have been filming non-stop for 2 days and my back be hurting. So you join me for this video because you clearly want to know what my identity crisis is. So I just have, for years and years, since I was a small tiny human, said that fantasy was the genre I loved the most because that is what reading was to me. Reading was fantasy. There was magic, there was dragons, there was escapism, castles, amazing magical worlds, and just that's so cool as a kid. Like all I watched when I was a kid would be fairy or witch shows. It was just the best thing ever. So naturally, I wanted to read about it as well. So what's the crisis, you may be asking me? Well, I have recently come to the conclusion that there is another genre I like just as much, if not more, than I like fantasy, which just throws off everything I've been saying my whole entire reading life, which is my whole life. And that genre that's come to just screw with me it's thrillers. It's mystery thrillers. I've got a YA and I've got an adult here. We're mixing it up. I'm showing you both age ranges. These are both thrillers that I have loved. We've got A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson that I always stumble upon the pronunciation of for some stupid reason. There's just a lot of G's in there. And we've got The Guest List by Lucy Foley. Both of these are fantastic. Both of these had me on the edge of my seat. Both of these gave me goosebumps. And both of them reign true in my head for what a gripping book is. So why am I having a crisis about this? Why am I not just enjoying these books for the genre that they are and thinking that's okay, fantasy's still my favourite? Well friends, every time I read a fantasy now, I read it probably over about 5 to 7 to 9 to 10 days, which for me is slower, whereas when I pick up a thriller, I read it in 2 to 3 days. And the difference between the two is the fact that I cannot put down the thriller, whereas the fantasy isn't gripping me in that same way. I'm not hooked on, desperately working out what is going to happen. That is not to say I'm not loving the fantasy, but for me, at the moment, the really exciting feeling of enjoying a book is coming from that feeling of not possibly being able to put it down. Now, I'm not saying that fantasy doesn't give me this experience as well. Something like Crescent City Has Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. Couldn't put that down, was absolutely gripped, definitely. And both of these that I've chosen to give you examples of, I really enjoyed. We've got the chunky beast that is Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, and then we've also got A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer. Both fantastic fantasies, and I picked these because they're two different types of fantasy. So A Curse So Dark and Lonely is a modern day / not modern day fantasy. This jumps between the world that we know and a not so similar world to ours that is much more what we think of when we think of a fantasy world, like older, there's not as much, well, there's no technology, it's very much based on magic systems and things, whereas Priory is just all those kind of worlds. There's no modern anything scrap of what our world is in this. This is a true world-building fantasy land. Both fantastic and exceptional books, adore them both. You could really hurt somebody with this one. But what am I rambling on about? Well guys, these two fantastic genres are there, and I'm suddenly thinking, I think I might have to declare it, and I think it needs a video, but I think thriller is my favourite book genre. I think fantasy has stepped down a notch, and I think that's weird to say because so many people in the book world, on the internet of the book world, love fantasy, and I feel like it is the default favourite genre. And no, it's not for me anymore. I have branched out. Not to say that I don't love fantasy, like, if we're talking about how close this is, we've got thriller and fantasy, like there's really not much in it. But I want to throw a spanner in the works for you. There's another genre. What? Now this isn't strictly a genre. It's not really a recognised genre. It's more of a trope / trait / plot device. In fact, it's just a plot. It's a plot point. A feature of books that I love above all other things. And that's books about books. We've got The Unlikely Escape of Uriah Heep by H.G. Parry, and we've got The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is one of my favourite books of all time. It is my favourite book of all time. This is also one of my favourite books of all time. This one is a mystery following a fictional book that is made up for the purpose of this book. This one follows books that can come to life, or characters that can come to life out the pages of books that we know, such as Roald Dahl books, C.S. Lewis books. David Copperfield is like the main book mentioned, hence the Uriah Heep character, so Charles Dickens books. Both superb. But this means there's like this other kind of thing I love in books, and it's not really a genre. And I'm like, can I say this is my favourite genre? So basically, we've got fantasy, we've got books about books, and then we've got thrillers. What I need is a fantasy thriller book about books. Can someone please write that for me? This enters a little bit into the thrillery nature, but it's more mystery based, which is why I love this so much. I love a clever, historical, entwined mystery book about books. This one. Whereas something like The Guest List is just a complete fast-paced chapter thriller. You cannot put it down. The chapters get shorter as the book gets closer to the end, and it's just so addictive. Whereas something like this is a world that I'm getting completely sucked into, and it's part of a trilogy at the moment. The next book comes out very, very soon by the time you're watching this, and I'm totally sucked into it. There are so many different merits to each of these genres, and I absolutely adore them all. But I think it has become a recent thing dawning on me at the moment that it's okay not to like the things that everyone else likes. I know we've all got our different opinions on books, and we all hate and love certain genres. For example, a genre I really don't read much of at all, like in any way, is sci-fi, but space sci-fi. I don't mind like a techie sci-fi, for example The God Game by Danny Toby, loved, but I don't like space sci-fis. I just don't get on with them, not interested, personally. Love the Star Trek films, will not read something similar. So you're probably thinking, Beth, what have you lured us into watching and have been talking for about 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 8 minutes? What have you been talking about for 8 minutes? Well guys, I don't know, but I thought it warranted a video. I wanted to chat it out. I feel like, you know, 2021 is gonna be the year of 2021. That's pretty much what it's gonna be the year of, isn't it? I don't know. What's gonna be the year of whatever I wanna make it. So I'm not gonna lie to myself anymore. I'm not gonna say, if asked, what's your favourite genre of fantasy? I'm gonna say thriller, and then I'm gonna say all books about books, if that's a genre, but I don't know if it's a genre. Is it a genre? Please tell me whether you think it is in the comments or whether you think it's just a plot. So basically, I hope you enjoyed this. Sorry it was a bit of a different video, but I'm trying to have more discussion-y videos on my channel, and I think they're gonna have to start off being crap to get better. I don't know what you guys want to hear from me in a discussion video, because normally I'm holding up books to recommend to you, and I don't want that to be every single video I film. So hopefully you enjoyed this one. This was so much more comfy to sit here than to sit on the floor or to stand up. This maybe should become a spot. Maybe I should just rearrange my whole lounge around this chair and then just sit in front of this to film videos. I did want to do that initially when I moved, but the chair kind of only goes here, otherwise it's just in the middle of the room. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. When I'm editing this, I'm probably just going to be debating whether or not to even post it, so if you're seeing it, it's made it past Editing Beth's rigorous decision-making skills about content. I always try and give you guys content that I hope you will enjoy, and not to make content for the sake of it, so hopefully this is something you've enjoyed. Let me know if you want more discussion-y posts and what you'd like me to discuss. Do like this video if you enjoyed it with the thumbs up, comment down below anything at all, anything you like, and subscribe to see more of my face on your feed with many videos such as recommendations, hauls, wrap-ups, challenges maybe. I don't have anything like that planned, but we'll see. Thanks so much for watching. Keep smiling, stay positive, and enjoy a good thriller, fantasy, or book about books, because I think we can agree those are definitely my top 3 genres.